What's happening, y'all? This is Adrian, aka Signcraft. Today, we're talking about record maintenance. We're talking about keeping your vinyl clean, happy, sounding good, low on static, low on dust, so you can just kick back and enjoy it. First up, when I get a new record, or when I get a used record, I swap out the paper insert for some sort of plastic anti-static sleeve. The paper inserts, they're cheap, and they paper just degrades over time. It produces lots of little bits of dust, little particulate that sits on top of your records. And that's what we're trying to avoid, right? We're trying to get to clean records. So there's a lot of different variants of this in this world. I like these Mophie ones because they have this little backing to them. So they stay kind of stiff. I forgot the brand I was using before this. It's not like I got rid of them. A bunch of my records have it, but it was just like 2 layers of plastic, and they're just kind of floppy and irritating to deal with. But this guy's pretty sweet. Like I said, he's got this little extra layer in there, so it stays kind of rigid and it's easy to get the record in and out. So that's where I start. I think this is an important step in terms of pulling a record out and having one that sounds good and plays clean. Let's pull out a record real quick. Okay. So, not sure how well this will show up, but on this record here we have the typical little bits of dust and debris, and you know what? Some of these won't make any difference. Some of these, the stylus will just pass right over, give you no gruff about. But it's hard to know which little ones are going to be a problem and which ones are gonna let you slide. Maybe you guys live in a world in which you don't end up with little bits of stuff on your records. I don't know. My records go from the sleeve to the turntable, back to the sleeve. I got a dust cover on my record player. I don't know where this stuff comes from. It just gets sucked out of the air by the static charge of the records. And when I first got into vinyl, I got into those little brushes that they have, usually like a little fold over cover, and they're about the wide as a record, and you kind of go around. Maybe you let the record player spin while you do it. And I thought those are pretty good balance of effort versus reward. But what I recognized is that static was actually one of the bigger problems, almost worse than the actual debris on the record that I was trying to take care of. And those things create so much static. A lot of those brushes will advertise themselves as static free, but that just ain't the case in my experience. I've always found those things to be real static generators. So what I have found is these little rollers, the little sticky rollers, and the whole concept made me a little nervous at first, like putting something sort of tacky on my record sounded wrong, but it's just like got a microscopic little tacky texture, and you can see this one's one I used. It's got some stuff on it, and these things are killer in my experience, because I put the record down on the table and I just kind of cruise across the top of it, and it just picks everything up. And then these guys, you use them every couple of weeks, couple of months, depending on how much you listen to vinyl. You go and you put them under the faucet with really cold water, and all this stuff just kind of comes off. You just kind of wipe it off, and they dry out, and they get tacky again. I get about maybe, 8 months, a year out of each one of these things. They're about, $10, $13 on Amazon. Two for 16. Always a deal to be had. I really dig them, and I've thrown away all those brushes because I think those things are just make more trouble than they're worth. Okay, so that's sort of my baseline of defense. I use that on almost every record I put down, but occasionally a record's a little bit dirtier than that, and I need to use something that's solution based. So I forget where I think I maybe heard this advertised on The Vinyl Guide. He's a podcaster out of Australia. Great podcast. I will try to remember the name and link it. But one of his sponsors is these Groove Washer guys, and there's a lot of things like this, a lot of solution based. They, claim to have all kinds of super amazing secret ingredients. I don't know. Seems to work pretty darn well, and as far as I can tell, isn't doing any damage to the record. The little kit that you get comes with their special magic sauce, along with this microfiber. It's like the old standard microfiber cloth, just wrapped around a cushiony guy. And then there's a very nice little wooden handle. It's kind of cool. And then this little, punched out foam disc, which I sort of laughed at. But this thing's cool. You throw that over the spindle to protect your label because you're shooting something wet at it and you don't want to mess up your label. A couple spritzes around. You can just sort of hand spin, or I guess you can probably turn on the motor and let it spin. And they sort of say to like start on one edge and then go to the middle and then go to the edge. So basically you're starting where it's, the wettest and then medium wet and then dry. And in doing so, you're picking everything up. And then when this thing dries off, you can kind of just like brush the stuff that's built up on it. So that thing's a really good system. I think the cost for it at first seemed a little bit wacky to me, but I mean, I bought extra of this stuff. I bought a kit that included like a big backup bottle of this stuff, and I haven't even gotten to it. I mean, it seems to really stretch. So I dig that. That's another good one for stuff where it's a little bit more than just surface. So then, if you wanna get serious, this is the Spin Clean. This thing is a big old, just a record bathtub. There are a bunch of these out there. They range in price. They're overpriced. I mean, I think this thing's like $70. It's a bunch of plastic, but I think they're just made in such small quantities. And from an injection molded piece of plastic, this is a big tool. So somebody made an investment at some point. But it's very simple. The record, it comes with its own solution. You gotta have magic solution. That's what makes the world go round. So you dilute that with a bunch of water, and you slot the record in there, and you can sort of switch depending on your record size if you're doing little 45s or whatnot. And there's these two brushes with sort of a microfibery kind of thing on there. These come out so you can rinse them really well afterwards. Okay, we'll just that's where those go right now. So yeah, put the record in and you just give it a bunch of turns one way, I think a bunch of turns the other way. There's a bunch of instructions that come with it. So whenever I buy used records, I usually wait till I've built up a set of used records that I bought, and then I'll wash them all in a batch, because once you make the solution up and it's kind of a whole production, you want to do like 10 records at least just to make it worth your while. And then they come with a couple of these super soft, gauzy, I don't know what they are. They're nice cloths. So you can kind of give it a dry when it comes out of there, and then set it somewhere to air dry the rest of the way. I've seen people use all kinds of funny plate drying racks and various things to. These guys might sell. Somebody sells like a ridiculously expensive drying rack to go with it. But anyway, so that's kind of that's as far as I go. I mean, there are many more things one could buy. There are, many $1,000 vacuum-based super mega machine washer things from Japan. Those are cool. I'd like to have one of those, but not really the investment I'm looking to make right now. Just as a little side tangent, somebody got me one of these as a gift. I could never bring myself to buy one because it just seemed too crazy. But I've gotten very obsessed with static and the problems that static creates for playback. And like I said, that's why I hated those brushes so much. I mean, once I stopped using them, my life got so much better. But but in the cold winter with the heat running and the static's built up in the house, and it's just hard not to get static on your records. And this Zero Stat promises to shoot magic fairy ion particles or some jazz. It's basically trying to neutralize the static that's on the surface of the record. And it's really, this is a real fun one to go research on the internet and watch people just go ballistic on each other in the forums about whether this is total BS or a godsend. In my experience, it does something. It definitely works a little bit. If you really follow their instructions and you hold the record right and you shoot it at the angle at the right distance and you're really patient and you let it out, the trigger out slowly and in slowly, and you kind of do the whole thing, it will knock some static off the record for sure, in my experience. Do you get a perfectly static free playback when you put it back down? Not in my experience. No, it's not a miracle worker. I can't remember how much it is. I think it's in the many tens of dollars. I think it might be $80. I don't know. It's way too expensive, which is why I never bought it, but was happy to get it as a gift and play with it. I would not pay for it at the price I remember it being. I don't think it's that good. But you know, if you're pulling your hair out and you're just losing your mind over static issues, yeah. It does something. It doesn't do nothing. All right, that's it for today, y'all. Hope you can take some of these products into your home. Hey, if you have a record cleaning product that you love, especially a little gem like this guy, a little $10 gem or something that you love that just makes your life better, throw it in the comments or shoot me a note. I would love to know. I'm always on the quest for low effort, high results when it comes to enjoying vinyl. Anyway, thanks for checking out this video. Thanks for hanging out. If you liked it, give it a like. I'm going to keep trying to get a few of these out, so subscribe and stay up to date on that jazz. If you thought it could be better, I'm sure it could be better. If you know how it could be better, leave me a comment or hit me up. I'd appreciate it. All right, this is Adrian, aka Signcraft, signing out.